So water is a really key part of your health. As you know, we can't survive without water. You know, it simply can't happen. So it's really important. But there's lots of other reasons why it's important too. So firstly, a little bit about water and its effect on us and why it is important. So our bodies are between 50 and 70% water, depending on who you speak to. So a significant part of us and who we are is actually water. So it's really important that we have plenty of it, because otherwise we simply don't have us. So water, it delivers solvents to our cells around the body and what have you, vitamins and minerals, nutritions as solvents to our cells and the body. It helps take away toxins. But one of the things you may be less aware of, that 50 to 70% water that we're made up of, actually a lot of our tissues and organs and connective tissues are actually made up of crystallised water. That's what they are. So as I said before, we don't have enough water, we don't have enough of that, which isn't good. But because water conducts electricity, the molecules in those crystallised water can actually align themselves up and create like little electric circuits that run around the body. And it's these that transmit all the electromagnetic frequencies that are so important to how the body works, to how our homeostatic balance works and all the feedback loops that go with that. If you remember, if you've heard me say it before, that electromagnetic frequency communication system is the first line of communication. So it's how your cells actually communicate in the first instance. The nervous system follows on after that. And of course, the hormonal endocrine system is a lot slower and follows on after that. So actually having enough water in our systems to create those circuits is really important. And if you're dehydrated, in effect you have bad electrics in the body. So those electromagnetic frequencies can't run around the body. So because of that, hydration or dehydration is one of the things that we consider to be one of the main causes of ill health. If you don't have enough water, if you're not well hydrated, then you set up the conditions in your system to allow the bugs and bacteria and viruses and all the things that give you symptoms to come along and take a hold. So that's why water is important. But water, like every other part of that whole dietary thing, is a real issue, isn't it? How much water is enough water? So is it 5 glasses a day? Is it 6? Is it 8 glasses a day? How big's a glass? Is it this big? Is it that big? Is it a litre of water? Is it 2 litres of water? And not only how much water, but what type of water? So is bottled water good? Should it be filtered? Do tea and coffee count? What about fruit juices? Can we add anything to the water? It is a myriad of different advice. As I say, everywhere you go, everyone you talk to will tell you something different. So it's no wonder we're so confused about it. So here goes. Let me bust a few of those myths and give you some really easy to follow advice on this. In effect, the amount of water is not that it doesn't matter, it's just that you can't give a blanket rule. It will vary. The amount of water that you need will vary from person to person. So it'll depend on how big you are, how tall you are. It'll depend on your circumstances at any given point in time. So if you're in a dry environment, like an air-conditioned office or building, you'll need more water. If the weather is cold and dry or even hot and dry, you will need more water. If you're more active, you will need more water. So it will vary, as I'm sure you can start to see, from day to day and from what you're doing as well. So perhaps I've made that just a little bit more complicated for you. You know, well, I don't know what to do then. How many glasses? How much do I know I need? Really simple things to bear in mind. Once you feel thirsty, you are in fact significantly dehydrated. So feeling thirsty is not the first sign that the body gives you that it's dehydrated. Headaches, feeling tired are also signs of dehydration, but again, you are quite significantly dehydrated by that point. The absolute easiest way to know whether you're getting enough water is simply by the colour of your urine. So if it's a nice pale colour when you go for a wee, then more than likely you're well hydrated. Perhaps even simpler than that is just to develop a really good hydration habit. So what do I mean by this? Well, this is making sure that you regularly drink some water. So a habit is linking it to something so that you're not having to consciously remember, because we all get busy, we're all doing things, and sometimes you can get to the end of the day and you think, oh, actually I haven't drunk much water today. And it's just because you've been busy and distracted with everything else. So taking small amounts of water on a regular basis throughout the day is the absolute easiest and best way to ensure that you're hydrated for the level that you need given what you're doing at any point in time. So, some ideas. You can have some water with you, a bottle of water or a glass of water sat on your desk, and just as you see it, have it in view. As you see it, take a sip. Really easy to carry about with you as well. Take a sip of water. Every time you sort of notice the bottle, notice the glass, take a sip. At this time of year, drinking cold water isn't that appealing. It's still quite cold. You know, maybe the hotter drinks, should I say, are more appealing. So another habit that you could have is every time you put the kettle on to make yourself a cup of tea, have a glass of water while you're waiting for it to boil. And therefore you're getting those times. So those are a couple of ideas about how to develop a habit. Hopefully that will set you off thinking as to, are there other things that I do on a regular basis during the day that I could just link to drinking water so that I remember to do it. So perhaps the last thing to cover off, which I know does confuse people with regards to water, is what do I drink? So I get many clients who come in and we talk about good hydration habits and how important water is to their health. And they'll say, yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I have between 3 and 4 cups of coffee or tea a day. Sadly, that's not going to help with your hydration. In fact, tea and coffee and other associated drinks like that are dehydrating. So they're actually diminishing. So, sorry, tea and coffee doesn't count in this. It does have to be a purer water-based product. So the absolute best thing that you can do is just to drink plain water. Now, I know for some people that is just not appealing at all. Now, some of this is down to the quality of the water that we have access to, and I can totally understand that. If your tap water is really chlorinated, doesn't have a nice taste to it, it's going to put you off doing it. So to get around that, if that's an issue for you, do try and drink as pure water as you can, so to keep it pure. But if that's proving really difficult, you can use things like herbal teas to back that up. Fruit teas to a degree, but just be careful because they can be a little bit acidic. Don't use that as a stopgap, just the odd one now and again. You can add some natural fruit juices to the water. Even something like a slice of lemon or a slice of lime can just give it a little bit of taste. But as I say, don't use that as your go-to solution. Just intersperse water with that just to top up your levels. So to the debate about bottled water versus filtered water and how effective, and is it just better to drink it out of the tap? This is a really hard one. So again, a common sense, easy to follow approach is that it is better to drink water, regardless of where it comes from. So if, for instance, you're out and about during the day, and the easiest thing for you to do is to have a bottle of water with you, although it's not great because it's in plastic and sometimes the bottles have been sat around for a bit, so bacterial levels can be a little bit high, it is still better to be drinking some of that water than not drinking any at all. Filtered water, yeah, I mean, really get access to the best quality water that you can, that's feasibly possible. So if you can use a filter on it, then that helps. The very best filters are the ones that you can fit to taps. Sometimes they can be very expensive. So just do the best that you can. If all you have access to is a tap water thing, that's fine. It is better to be drinking water than none at all. Try and keep it to the still water as well, because the carbonated water, a lot of that isn't great for you. So I hope that's helped a little bit, and that, you know, for this week you'll think about how you can introduce more water into your diet, because that's really going to help with things as you go forward. Something so simple, just to have that glass of water, can have such a huge and positive impact on your health.